Hello everyone and welcome. My name is Jennifer Long from Sew a Story, and I am so excited to be here today in the Riley Blake Designs YouTube studio to share a fun, easy tutorial that you can do with your family and friends, kids of all ages, and it's a felt panel from to grandmother's house. This is a panel in a whole series of panels through Riley Blake Designs, and they are all sewn in the same way. So you can watch this tutorial now or in the future, and it can apply to so many of the felt panels that we have already to share with you. The beautiful thing about felt panels is that they are accessible to all ages. So there's no turning on them. There's simple sew methods. They are flat and easy to sew. I do want to mention something about my background is that I am an early childhood educator by trade. And so I'm bringing all of that education and knowledge into the design of these so that we can make play accessible to kids and teaching and early literacy so that they can just grow and develop. These felt panels are flat, so you can take them as play on the go. So it's really flat, but it also uses their imagination. They can act out stories with the characters. There's trees, and we'll go through a lot of these different little characters in a few minutes as we get started. But the first thing you're going to need to do is download. There's a free guide on the Sew a Story website. These instructions have fully illustrated step-by-step instructions so that you can actually see what we're going to be working through today. Don't worry if you don't want to download these or print these. The instructions, you can find them directly on the panel as well. But this is just an added free benefit. I'm such a visual person. I know if you're sewing with kids, it's so helpful to actually see what's happening. The kids can look at the pictures, you can read the instructions, so it's just a wonderful way to do that. And we're also hosting a sew along for this panel, so you can join with a community of people that are sewing along. Maybe you want to do it at your school, maybe you want to do it at your church group, and maybe you want to do it just with your family or homeschooling. So you can join the dates, and you can just sign up on the website and get all the information there. It's also free to join. And so here's the supply list that you will need. Let's get started today with backing our felt dolls. So you're going to take your felt panel, and if you notice, this is high quality felt, but I'll give you the secret ingredient to making nice, stiff, professional, but easy felt dolls. So you're going to take a heavyweight stabilizer. I am using one called Heat and Bond Fusible Interfacing, and it's a craft weight, but it still feels really thin. You can see one side is shiny, and fusing it on is optional because these are acrylic felt. But I do love this product, and I do love this stabilizer. And you're going to take what you want, and you're going to back the entire felt panel. So you can open up the whole felt panel and back everything. You're going to back your house, you're going to back your felt dolls, and you can either fuse it or you can roughly cut out each piece, just like I've done over here. So you can roughly cut out each piece, and then you can have your stabilizer behind. Once you have it roughly cut out, you can come on over to your ironing station. If you're choosing to fuse it together, make sure you read fully the instructions on your manufacturing fusible interfacing, and you can take your iron. I would not recommend fusing directly onto the felt because it does have acrylic in it, and I would always recommend doing a test spot first. I have tested it, and I will not hold it for long. I just want to get it tacky and just sort of get that glue kind of working on the back of that shape. So as you can see, it's just lightly there. This makes it easier for little hands to stitch if you're going to embellish, and also just to play with. So you can do embellishments for all different types of styles. I did French knots here. I also did just single stitches on this little hedgehog for some personality. I did some running stitches and some daisy stitches here. So you can just sort of scan over and look to get inspired, but we really want kids to use and adults to use their creativity. The lovely thing about adding some kind of stitching buttons, sequins, is that it does add texture, which is wonderful for children to play with. I love texture too, and so it really is fun, and it can really increase their imagination and the time that they spend with dolls. The one warning I do want to suggest is that if you are stitching anything on that can be accidentally removed, that you are aware of age appropriateness for children, including buttons and choking hazards, etc. So please be aware of that. So once you had fun doing all the embellishments that you want to do, then you can take your roughly cut doll, and it's backed, and there's my stitching on the back, you can see, and we're going to hide the stitching. So I'm going to take another roughly cut piece of felt. You can be whatever color you want. I have sort of a matching color to my background, but you can use all white if you want, and just place it on there. You can take a pin and pin through the center. Because this is felt, it does have some body and stability to it. It's nice to use a little bit longer of a pin in there, and you can just hold it. We're going to take this over to the sewing machine, and we're going to stitch around in the seam allowance. Now, the one thing I do want to point out about all of the felt panels that I create for Riley Blake Designs is that we have 2 different seam allowances, and I'll explain why. So the inner seam allowance is the inner closest one. It's a 1/4 inch, and if you're feeling very confident that you can trace the shape, you are welcome to stitch right inside of that lighter colored seam allowance. However, if you're working with a child that is just learning to sew, you know, it can be quite disheartening to sew into your picture. So please feel free to use a larger seam allowance. They're both beautiful. If you're feeling really confident, then you can use the inner one and cut out the outer one is 1/2 inch, so it's a great distance for all the ages. So that's how we've made this accessible to all ages. So I've already prepped one for you, sewn here. So as you can see, I took my time and I sewed inside and around, all inside the inner seam allowance. And I even started cutting here, and I'm going to show you. So I sewed in about 1/8 of an inch from the doll, but this is a 1/4 inch seam allowance, so it has left me enough space to trim. So I'll just take a nice pair of sharp scissors and just go along and continue to trim out this doll. As I've said a couple of times, I'm in love with felt. I'm in love with felt because of how easy it is to work with and how easy it is to sew. So this is all we need to do. This will never fray. This is ready to go. So as soon as we finish cutting out this doll, she is going to be added to our collection of felt dolls, and it's really motivating and empowering to be able to create something from start to finish within such a short period of time. So it's really engaging for our younger sewers as well. So there's the felt doll. You will find when you have a child helping you sew that they are actually more inclined to take care and play with toys that they also have had a hand in creating. So that's really, really fun, and that's how you make the dolls. I'd like to go over and we'll work on making the bag together next. So let me just clean up my area. You have already backed your whole panel with that stabilizer, and I already have it here prepped out the bag. It has been cut out to shape. I'm going to take the 2 layers away just to show you one at a time. And you're going to see how fast and easy it is to sew together. Let's start with the handles. Okay. So I've cut out the handles on my inner seam allowance just because that's how I am already sewing my dolls. I'm going to take my handle and fold it right side out. So wrong sides together, again, because I do not need to turn any hems or edges on here. This is felt and it will not fray. So this is the easy sew method. And we're just going to pin it all the way along. And the great thing about using felt to teach kids to sew is that it's easy to stick the pins into. This is great for little hands. You can press this if you want to, but you can also just align it as you go. I'm going to make sure this is lined up. And I'm going to start, again, 1/8 of an inch from the outer line on that brown line, and I'm going to stitch all the way along the line just as I've done here. And then you can quilt as desired. So I've just done a couple other straight lines. This is a great way to practice. It's really fun to sew felt because it doesn't shift around on your machine. You can leave the handle just like this, or you can take the ruler and cut off that entire white trim. I chose to cut it off because I really wanted it just to flow with the roof of my house, but it's completely optional to you if you want to keep it on or remove it. I just feel like it gives it a really professional look to make the handle in this way. I'll discard these pieces, and you can see your handle is ready to go. I'm going to set these handles aside, and let's assemble the pockets on the inside. This is where all the fun happens. So you can make these pockets for play and for part of carrying, but this is also part of the dramatic play that can happen. So there's a door, 2 little windows, and a big sort of back pocket in there for all the different forest characters and trees. Again, we like to give options depending on all of the ages that are sewing. So again, you can just either sew the doors on just as they are here, or you can put a little stitch on here just to keep it a little bit more stable if you want. I wanted to show you just if you wanted to turn it, what it would look like. So I just did a single fold, and I did a double stitch on here. So you can choose how you want to finish your pocket. The seam on there gives a little bit ease of sliding in your characters. So it is helpful if you're making it for very, very young children to have a seam on there. It gives a little bit more stability. So all you're going to need to do is place. See the window here? I'm going to just replace it right over top. I'll pin that in center to make sure that it's lined up. Everything matches 1 for 1. And then you'll just make sure the seams are matching on the sides, and you'll pin those as well. You'll take this piece over to your machine, and you'll just sew along the sides and bottom of your pocket. Do not sew the top closed, or you won't be able to get your characters in. The same thing here for your windows is you're going to sew the sides and the bottoms of your windows, the sides and the bottoms of your windows, and around the door. So let's just take a look at this one so you can see how it worked. So here I have the back pocket. It's sewn along the sides and the bottom. And here I have the door for a little character and the windows. Oh, see, I even have a few in there. So once you have that piece assembled and ready to go, oh, look, I have all the fun keeps coming out. So once I have this piece ready to go, I'm going to just move that over to the side and do the same thing on the inside. So the felt panel is designed as also a playmat, and the wonderful thing about playmats on the go is that it's a nice clean surface that you can take anywhere you want. So you can take it to the doctor's office, you can take it to church, you can take it to a friend's house, and you have this play surface to play with all of these wonderful characters, and it's a nice clean place to play. So we have different pockets here. You can put the table on here. The table underneath here has the pie on it already, so we would just match the table. And again, you'll sew around the edges and leave it open as in the demonstration one here as well. I opted not to sew the quilt to the bed because I really wanted to have the option to play and have a sleepover party and have a grandmother and the wolf and Little Red all have a party together. In my version of Little Red, they are all friends and family is forever. So they're all going to have a sleepover party together, and I wanted to make sure that they all had their own little quilts and fun. There are 3 quilts that come in this collection. And there's enough storage room in all of these back pockets to keep everything that I didn't need to have it there. But please feel free to be as welcome and as creative as you want to go. Once you have all of those sewn, all you need to do is flip the project over, and you're going to sew it again, wrong sides together. So it's so easy. You can see how the bag is coming together. And the last thing you want to do is put that handle in that you had previously. So you're going to take that handle and you're going to pin it first. So I am going to pin it right where I wanted it. You can see on this one, I put it coming right out of the chimney, and then I measured from the side. So I did it right out of the chimney coming here. And I'm just going to line the brown part of the chimney up. And at the back, it's a pink part of the chimney, so I'm going to line them up, point it through. Just like if you're used to quilting, you want to line up your 2 points. And I'll put that there. And on the other side, same thing. Great. So you've got that one handle in there. Now you're going to have to make sure you measure how each handle is. I like to do one first, and then I fold the other one over, and I'll show you how I do the second one so they match. But I'm going to take my ruler. Here it is. I'm going to take my ruler and just see how far I've come from the house. So I am 1, 2, 3, 4, and I'm going to make sure that I am 4 from here as well on this side, just so my bag hangs evenly. But there is no fast and hard rule about where you put your handles. And you'll just pin those in here, just like that. You're going to do the same thing on this side, and I'll just show you with this here how I match it. I'm going to pull it over, and I would take the same one and I would match it here. I would pin it the same way I did, but I would make sure that the handles can fold in together so that they're exactly the same distance. And that way, when the house is folded, you're going to have a perfect formed handles on both sides, just like this one is. So once we have both handles pinned in place, go around the whole house. All of these will be pinned and will be sewn already. Then you're just going to go around and you're going to pin through everywhere. If you're doing the brown line, you can pin on the brown, or if you're doing the beige line, you can pin on the beige. And you're just going to make sure you're hitting all of the spots, and you're going to pin around the entire perimeter and sew just like you did for the felt dolls. So once you sew just like you've done for the felt dolls, all the way around, then you just trim it, and there you go. So it is just that easy to build lasting memories with Riley Blake Designs felt panels. You can find more information about felt panels and all the things that we are creating together at www.sewastory.com. Thank you so much for joining me here at Riley Blake Designs, and I hope you have a lovely day. Bye for now.